Right, part two of building Eve. Specifically, this session will be targeted at probably one of the more important features or functions within Eve, and that is how do we generate a report every day or every week, I haven't decided yet, on what content's hot and what everyone's talking about in the AI space, right? The reason why this is important is so that we can get a good read or a very current read about what videos are blowing up, what topics are blowing up. And that points towards the fact that it's not going to be weekly, it will probably be a daily thing. Okay? So I don't have a sketch for this yet. So we will be building this from zero. So what I like to do is I like to start with the output and then work backwards on how we would get to this output, right? And at this stage, the workflow for me isn't the most certain at the moment as I work things out. But what is certain at the moment, and again, working backwards, but at the same time, if you know certain things like what your data sources are, then we can place that on the canvas and then see how we can work it out, right? Or fill in the blanks of what's in between here. Yeah, so I do know what needs to happen, or rather what sources, but as we build the thing, we will probably relook into what goes into here, okay? Or rather, like, this is my starting point, there it might change, yeah? Okay, so a few things here, a few things that comes to my mind as I'm sketching this out. And for me, what's interesting is to understand what are the other sources that could be valuable. But really, because most of what I'm doing and posting is on YouTube, therefore, I'm not that fussed around what other channels are. But X as well as Reddit are generally pretty good platforms to understand what people with deep interests are talking about. So when it comes to getting signals on what's trending, it's not just YouTube, but understanding the conversations that are happening on X and Reddit So those are two sources for me that is good to understand what the market is thinking about. And then for overall competitive analysis, it's the YouTube, right? And that's where I think it's probably going to be the primary source. But over time, we can probably look to increase the sources on where we analyze stuff. One of the things that I wanted to pull and show you guys is this platform here called Scrape Creators. And this specific platform allows for you to basically scrape many platforms via this one aggregator, right? So it's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, etc. Even down to like things like Truth Social, Reddit, etc. So for me, I think that this is a pretty good one-stop shop. It is a paid service, obviously, but generally not too expensive in terms of using it, right? And where I found out about this is via Greg Eisenberg's podcast called Last 30 Days. So Last 30 Days is using, I think, X API as well as OpenAI's API keys to scan Reddit. But they have since moved over to Scrape Creators in terms of how the tool is being scraping stuff. So one really interesting thing that we can do here, and I just compacted the previous conversation so that we've got a fresh context window. The next feature will be, more specifically, I'm looking to build the competitive and market trends analysis workflow / skill. Yeah. And what I'm thinking about doing right now is, okay, in order for us to start, I want to copy over Alfred's skill criteria. I'm going to use skills. So I don't have my skill creator at the machine level. It's under Alfred, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to move it over. And check, actually what I should have done is I should have copied it over to the machine level, but that's fine. No worries. One flag before we build, the copy is a snapshot, not a symlink. Now, one of the things that I want to do is I want to get Alfred to analyze this skill, the last 30 days skill, because I would say that 70 to 80% of what this skill does is aligned to what we want to do, right? So if you guys don't know what last 30 days is it's a skill that scrapes, if I'm not, quite a few social platforms to give you a report about any topic that you'd be interested in, to tune your LLM to become an expert on that topic. So it scans last 30 days across multiple platforms on a topic, and based on what's hot, what's trending, it will take all those insights and present it back to you. But secondly, it then lives in context inside of the session of your agent. So again, if you think about what it's doing, it's about 60-70% there. I want the scraping component. I am also looking at very similar channels, but yeah, what it's doing is it's presenting an insight report about a topic. But for me, what I want that report to be ultimately is something that is more of a competitive review and market trends, right? So I think market trends first, then probably competitive review by that priority. But yeah, because this skill is already doing quite a lot of the heavy work. One of the things that I enjoy doing with Alfred is when you've got a really good skill, or you've got a repo that is doing a lot of heavy work, or has a lot of innovative ideas, scan it, right? Get your agent to scan it and pull out the patterns, pull out its workflows, and then amend it, as opposed to try to build it from scratch. So someone has spent a lot of time. In fact, I probably want to credit the guy here. last 30 days, Matt Vanhorn is his name, right? And yeah, you can see 21.9k stars, plenty of forks, right? Which means to say people are taking this and making something of their own to develop. But you can see that this has been, well developed, and it's continuously going through development, which means to say someone has already built something pretty incredible. So for me, I think it's quite a no-brainer as opposed to me trying to build something from scratch on my own. I can use this as a base and then create something that works for my specific use case. So you can see actually he built it to keep up in AI, which is what we're trying to do here, right? But I want the stuff to be distilled to fit the market trends and the competitive review. But you can see here sources that it's using, right? And it even has things like Hacker News, which I wasn't thinking about earlier. This is really good. PR velocity, poly market. That's interesting. I don't know how we'll use this. Threads, I don't know how interesting that would be for us. But yeah, you can see that it uses a lot of stuff and it's just adding more through social, Xiaohongshu. Again, I don't know how much people talk about AI on Xiaohongshu. But you can see right now, learn something really fast before a meeting, when something drops. Yep, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go and ask my agent, Alfred, to scan last 30 days and pull out the patterns, probably build a bit of like a wiki page around how. In fact, I might not even want to build a wiki page. I might just get him to replicate the skill into Eve, but making some tweaks to it, right? Which means to say actually me copying over the skill creator doesn't really help this specific session. But again, this is me building as we go, right? I want you to scan. Actually, I'm just going to dictate this because I think it will be pretty long. Okay, so I want you to scan my last 30 days skill, which should be installed at the user level. And I find that the last 30 days skill to be really good, and it does 70 to 80% of what we're trying to do when it comes to building a competitive and market trends analysis skill for me. So in essence, as opposed to start from scratch, I think one of the leading ideas for me to build this is for you to review and scan the last 30 days skill. And we will then go ahead and build something similar to fit my specific use case. So we'll start off by having you review it in great detail. And let's come back to me on what your thoughts are. And I will give you a scope around what we're trying to do with this daily market and competitive report, and then we can work out how the bill will evolve. So you can also see that, in the repo, he's built it so that it works across different platforms, right? But yeah, we're just using the Claude code version of it, but we can then take a look at his skill.md here. It's fairly lean actually, in my opinion. But it has quite a few commands inside. There we go. We've got there is a ton of scripts, and I think each of these scripts are using the sync pooling stuff. Okay, let's go back to Alfred. So this is pretty cool because SQLite store with dedupe so that daily runs can't resurface yesterday's post, which is great. Fantastic. All right, so it's done a pretty good job in terms of breaking it down. It's asking me a bunch of questions. And I'm going to give it some feedback. So for the competitor list, I don't have one right now, but what I will do is I will compile one. For now, I think part of what you can do is you can create a placeholder from which I will need to update. We'll probably run a very quick scan of what's happening on YouTube with Eve to go and figure out who the competitors are. There are a couple of channels that I am aware of that does a lot of personal AI assistant content. That would be the primary channels, AI automation channels and whatnot. In terms of a cadence right now, this is probably going to be a daily thing, but to start, I'm not going to schedule the runs, but it will be something that I will trigger. And then my job really is to review how good it is and tune, right? In terms of delivery, I think what's important right now is for it to just write to a vault file, specifically within Eve. There needs to be an outputs folder for now until I better organize things. But yeah, it's probably a competitive analysis and market brief kind of folder where you have your date and then dash comp review.md, something like that. And topic watch list will be Claude Code, personal AI assistants, AI agents, multi-agent orchestration, things like that. Again, this can be a starting point for now based on what you understand about my personal brand and the content category that I play in. But we'll refine that over time. And the so what pass, for me, the way I look at this workflow is one where I want it to give me, topical recommendations for the day or for the week. And what will happen is I will probably need to have a methodology where I input the things that I'd be keen to pursue from a topical standpoint. Or alternatively, in a different workflow, we'll digest this along with looking at my channel numbers, along with my content strategy to then refine. I think the latter is more likely the case of what we'll do. But what that means is that you probably want to have a higher signal type of filter. Yeah, the Eve signals shouldn't be scored against my voice. Personally, I don't really care. Or rather, I don't think it's important for the content to be filtered through a voice. So I think that's where you might have gotten that wrong. Ideal customer could be interesting to add. Yeah, but I don't think that it is all that necessary, even if, let's just say, we are going to be filtering it further around what contents will actually get produced, or rather what topics will get produced on. But what I do think will be interesting and important would be for it to produce, key topics to be spoken about, and then potentially even, if possible, extract. I don't know how feasible this is, like extracting insights. Maybe that's not possible because, again, we're not scanning each video, right? Can you confirm with me if that's what the agent does on the YouTube side? Because again, I feel that what has been built by last 30 days, it scans YouTube transcripts, right? And if that's the case, then it might be able to pull some interesting insights that becomes valuable for me to riff on, But yeah, that's basically my thinking on this. Okay, it's responding to me on the YouTube question. So it's reading the youtube.py script, which is this one. So it's search and transcript extraction via yt-dlp. That's exactly what you were hoping for. Searches YouTube via yt-dlp install or direct HTTP fallback, fetches the transcript for each video in parallel. The highlights, pulls the quotes, sentences, topic weighted, capped at 5 per video. So the agent that consumes this output already gets the metadata, engagement, etc. Cost correction on voice filtering. You're right. Scrubbing that. Don't need that. Engagement score, topic match score, novelty, recency, delta. So these are easy for me to populate. No issues. The script. Interesting. Eve synthesis layer. So naming proposal, confirm override, context. That's okay. Outputs, brief.md, simple, very good. Starter inputs. All right, so last 30 days, so I'm understanding what you're looking to do in terms of the engine. When you have a script that says last 30 days.py plus lib untouched, what does this actually mean? Basically what you're doing is you are just pointing Eve to use the last 30 days skills, is that correct? So it's already been installed in the computer, which means to say I don't need to install anything new. And what you're basically doing is you are tuning the request to get specific outputs and then analyzing it. Please clarify. So I want to get to the bottom of what it's trying to do here. But again, if the approach and the build here is really just to write on top of last 30 days, then this is a very, very simple build, because it's a lot simpler than what I originally thought, because what you're doing is you're just using last 30 days, right? And then you have Eve refine plus processing, and it's just 3 steps. Like what I was saying, we don't need to reinvent the wheel when you've got something that is pretty great and amazing. So credits to Matt Vanhorn for building this and making it available for everyone to use. You read correctly, your framing is clearer than mine. Let me confirm that and sharpen. In fact, it hasn't even been updated. I'm using 2.9.6. The latest is 3.0. And this is why, for me, it is important that we read in detail what is done, what v3 changed. There you go. Intelligent search. So then we've got YouTube brew install. I've got this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to tell it to upgrade. Yeah, and then build this. Touch this. Okay, so when I look at what you've intended to do, which is this loop of calling last 30 days multiple times, my concern here is that if I had a really large list of competitors, wouldn't this be significantly overkill, right? Basically, say I've got 30 competitors in my list that I want to scan. You're going to call last 30 days every single time. And my concern as well is that last 30 days might then go and scan all of its different connections to then go and return information. Wouldn't that be strange, and wouldn't that be absolutely excessive? And then you also be, I think that it is worthwhile to run last 30 days for each topic, but then that also might be overkill, because I think last 30 days is just meant for you to study a topic and it will study the last 30 days, right? So for me, I'm thinking that this approach that you have developed here is absolutely overkill. Can you confirm with me if I'm right or I'm wrong on this?
AI agents aren't like this.
Because I understand how last 30 days works. Like, what I don't want is for it to call the last 30 days, right? I just needed to call the last 24 hours on what was hot and what's been spoken about. So I like how it goes ahead to analyze things, but I don't need it to scan stuff for the last 30 days. I wanted to take the patterns of what last 30 days does, but not take the entire tool, lock and stock. Last 30 days is a research sweep. It's designed to scan the whole internet, right? So yeah, let's take a look again a bit deeper. I think it's fine to have more topics because I think what the skill should do from a workflow standpoint is to run the last 30 days topic sweep in parallel. So I think that's okay. But for the first phase, I think we should keep it to 3. So Claude Code, personal AI assistants, and AI agents as topics are probably good to start. What I still want, however, is for the YouTube part of the analysis to actually read the transcripts. So there are 2 parts to it. The first one is I think we need to have a scan around the uploads, the numbers, the statistics, to then have an understanding around what the average for a specific competitor is, so that we can see when something launches or when a video blows up. It's not just about uploads, right? It's like you can upload one day and then it blows up 3 days later. So for me, we need to have a system where we are keeping data about each competitor's channel so that we can get a sense around things that blow up. And the other thing is also I want to see like how topics converge, because generally when everyone's doing this, right? So what that tells me is that videos that they do launch from a topic standpoint is it has likely gone through like some form of research, which means to say when topics converge, those generally are high value topics, if that makes sense. So giving it a bit more feedback right now, yeah, but again, we are seeing how last 30 days is good for the market research. And then for competitor research, we are using specifically yt-dlp. And this thing needs to, part of it should also be probably a competitors analysis, and we might actually have inside of this folder competitor bash. I think it's probably going to be a JSON, right? JSON y.json. And what this does is it has basically stats by condition. It's going to be like facts and stuff, right? So then you will have things like average view count, and then this would be maybe P30 days or more average view count. And this creates a base or reference point. For videos that over-index and gives this. This is how I'm kind of thinking about it right now. So then what will happen is it will scan for topic. It will scan for views. And it's probably going to scan past second those videos, and then view count. We will then do like topics, new videos. Probably look at engagement numbers as well. So that what we want to do is we want to watch this for big changes on videos launched past 14 days, etc. And then this should extract Transcript, a deep dive to insights. Wonder if this is necessary, right? And then this goes up here. I think the competitor analysis for this also goes up here, right? Okay, let's see what it said. Okay, so this is what Alfred is recommending. His own SQLite database. In fact, this is correct. This is better than my flow, right? So each daily run pulls last 30 uploads per channel. New uploads, insert and fetch script, fantastic. Existing uploads, add snapshot row. Compute baseline average velocity per channel. So then that's rolling, right? And then you'll flag blowups or velocity spike. So yeah, so a bit on this workflow here that I just showed you. What I like to do is I like to give it my perspective, and then think through for myself how I would solve it, and then see if mine or Alfred's solution is better, because this is a great learning opportunity for me. But what this requires is compute, right? Every single time you are computing to get the past 30 days average view count, and that is load that we can take off the agent and park into a database instead. This methodology of just like pulling the data, parking it into a database, and then seeing the numbers trend is a much better way to actually see how things blow up, because I'm from 800 to maybe, well, 4,000, 45,000 is big, but you could see 800 to 2,000, and then you're like, okay, that's an interesting signal. But the moment it blows up to 45,000 in the following day, that gives me a signal that, hey, I should at least write something about this, you know? Very good. And again, it's not just the past 30 days, but this is basically a rolling count and evolution of how you would track your competitors, which is fantastic. And then conversions is value, no embeddings. To be honest, I feel that even if we just ran the YouTube section, we're already like 80% there. This is just adding the first part, which is the last 30 days and understanding what's hot, what's not. Yeah, that's a add-on in my opinion. Yeah, okay, third topic can be multi-agent orchestration. And one thing that I want to point out here is that I want a section maybe at the top, or I don't know, you can recommend what the section is, but I want a so what section, which is based on the analysis here, just purely based on analysis without even caring about, you know, context of the content strategy. What are the musts act on? What are the ones that will be good to act on? And other ideas that could be worthwhile pursuing that goes into the backlog, right? So that's an additional section, not all the way at the end, maybe at the start. So if I don't have time and I don't want, so this is, think about it like an executive summary-ish, but as opposed to summarize all of the findings, it's about, okay, these are the actions that you should be thinking about taking. That takes the top spot. And then after that, you will have the deeper analysis, which is topic convergence, posting about what's blowing up right now, and then what the internet is talking about in the open web, and then deep diving into insights, which are things that could lead to good small posts. So I think this is good. I run path B for me to get the full list, and I think that can run as a sub-agent right now. For now, I think what you can do is you can go ahead and build this into Eve's skill. So go into its repo and just build this out as a skill for Eve. So you can see right now, it's going to kick off the discovery agent in the background. And then it can then work on scaffolding the skill and then building it out, right? So it's writing everything for Eve right now. And this is an example of us building with Alfred again on Eve. And obviously I think what we'll need to do very likely is we'll need to scan and improve on it. But you can see it's writing the scripts, database schema, last 30 days integration, output template, the so what ranking, which is good, the skill.md here. Yep, looks pretty simple. And this is where the data goes, the SQLite. So just waiting on that to build. The layout tool seems a bit lean, but it should be okay because what it's doing is run last 30 days. Let's see. It's got a bunch of scripts, data, so it's not built out everything yet, so it's still building it. Oh yeah, by the way, the competitor list has been done. Okay, let's see. Jeff Su, Futurepedia, Dan Martell, Brian Cassell. Again, I'm not the most, I don't really follow some of these. A solo builder, Dan Martell is definitely not one that I would say has got very firm AI content. Jeff Su, again, pretty beginner in my opinion, a lot of his content. Nate Herc, a bit more technical. Nick, yes. But yes, I will refine this quite a bit more. But yeah, overall it's been built, it's tested stuff for me. We've got the topics watch list, the 15 channels which I will probably need to review. Skill.md with the 5 phases, the scripts. I want to make sure that it followed through with the running things in parallel, right? Okay, so it doesn't say phase 2 competitor roll call. Okay, baseline blow-up detection. I'll probably write a lot of these things when it's ready. Okay. So one of the things that I need you to do is to make it clear so that this skill doesn't run too long. And that is for a lot of these phases, or rather like the last 30 days runs along with the competitor roll calls, those can run in parallel, right? The baseline and blow-up detection, topic conversions, these are things that needs to be processed as part of synthesis, in my opinion. But for things that can be parallelized in this skill, please go ahead and set the instructions, because I don't see any instructions around running things in parallel. For competitor roll call, I feel like, again, for each competitor, you should be running all of this in parallel where possible. If the game plan really is for us to run the last 30 days in parallel first, and then after that, run the competitor roll call in parallel, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, we can only run 10 sub-agents at a go. But I need you to highlight the parallelization so that we get to the end of this workflow as soon as possible. Parallelization needs to be explicit at every level. Baseline conversions belong to synthesis, not gathering. So it's restructuring it for me now. Output, supporting evidence, and then stats, error handling. So yeah, it looks good. Okay. So this looks weird to me, skill root. So we're just gonna get it to scan it with a skill creator after this to improve on stuff. And let's see what happens. I think it's overdone. But that's okay. Let's take a look at this bash rate. Rep glob. Okay. Now what I want to do is tell it to spin up the SQLite like to you the and then call out, like for example, I'm seeing this skill root Python tree thing, which is a bit concerning to me. I'm non-technical, so this could be fine, but yeah, let's take a look and see what the skill creator thinks. So this is Entropic's skill creator, which, you know, will then scan this to see if there are any problems. I think what it's done is it's completely over-indexed on the speed aspect of things, which I don't think is the right thing to do. These are the kinks when you build. So there you go. First skill root is referenced in the bash command, but never actually defined anywhere. Eve won't know what to set it to on the first run, which will cause an immediate failure. Okay, I want you to fix the skill root problem and just basically give it the actual directory, right? So yeah, we can basically just give the hard code the actual location of each of the scripts that need to run. Context topic watch list. Competitor watch list, MD. For the competitor watch list, what do you mean by it being unverified? I'm looking at the watch list now and it looks good. I mean, obviously, I still need to clarify and fix stuff up. Like there are a few of the competitors that aren't the right ones for me, but from a topic watch list standpoint, it's all good actually. So what do you mean by it being unverified? Okay. Competitive market brief. There we go. So it's just gonna bash the right locations, which is great. Now the issue here is that when I move this later, and maybe this is why Alfred did it, right? Smart, because I did say that I'm going to move the thing later. So yeah, not great. Oh, good. We'll fix it later. You can go and fix the rest of it, whatever works best. So I'm just going to leave it to fix it for now. I think we are pretty much there. I will need to go and fill up my competitors lists and then run a couple of trials and tests, but I feel like we are in a pretty good place right now in terms of the build. Just to play back again, I think we got pretty close to what this looks like. This one is now a database, right? Which is great. And yeah, I will go ahead and test stuff, and I will be back maybe in the next video to show some of the results of that testing before we start building the next stage. And again, we might actually end up having to fix a bit of this before we build the next piece of the puzzle. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.